Hey, what's happening, Roland? Well, I'll tell you what's happening in my world. About 3 hours ago, I was in a general anesthesia, and I had my shoulder operated on. I had a bone spur taken out, and I had a bunch of little small spurs. My shoulder's all numb right now. And then I had some rotator cuff surgery. Anyway, it's all done now. But the bad news, having a shoulder done like that, is the doctor says I cannot fish for 2 weeks. That really kind of slowed me down. Now this right arm here, or left arm here, I had the same surgery done 11 years ago. I couldn't draw a bow and I couldn't cast a rod good, and so I had the shoulder done, and now that arm is perfect. But this right arm was getting a little gimpy, so I had the surgery done. Christmas is coming up in just a couple weeks, so I'll take off the time. I got to go Christmas shopping anyhow, and recuperate. And then at the end of the week, when Christmas is over, the last show of the year, I'll actually be filming saltwater. I'll go out and Chuck Stevens, the manager of the Bass Pro Shop, he has a big 28-foot Mako, like I used to have. And we're going to go out, my wife Judy and I, and we're going to catch red grouper on big old jigs and stuff that I tie up and make. And also I got a contract back with Spro Tackle, and Spro makes exquisite nice jigs for the red grouper. Okay, last couple days, just getting ready for the surgery. I had a funny thing. I was over in Clewiston, and I talked to my two grandsons last week after that big tournament we had on Lake Okeechobee I told you about. And my grandson Reed and my grandson Jacob, they had just returned back from South Dakota. They'd gone out to South Dakota to deer hunt. They're really into hunting. So, and Jacob had shot a really big mule deer. In fact, his score is well over 150. We don't know what his score is yet, but beautiful, beautiful. It was a 4x5 on the points. Real tall tine. Anyway, these two boys are really into hunting. In fact, Reed goes out at night and hog hunts all night long. And I took them both turkey hunting this last spring. And I got them both beautiful turkeys. In fact, we did a YouTube on Reed's big turkey. And so consequently, what they wanted for Christmas, they both wanted turkey calls. Now, I make turkey calls. I mean, I have made about 300 turkey calls over the years. And let me just show you a little bit about my turkey calls. Okay, going back a few years, I was working a lot with the Wild Turkey Federation and Rob Keck. And the most famous lure turkey call manufacturer is a guy by the name of Neil Cost. And this is one of Neil Cost's original boat paddles. This is worth thousands of dollars. It really is. It's just very valuable. They were auctioning some of these off at the Wild Turkey Convention for $3,500, and not as good as this one. This was one that Neil made for me personally when he was alive, and he made me a couple of them. And this is what his call it sounds like. Now, I make a call. I make all different kinds of calls. Here's one I made just this week. Okay, here's another one I made this week. Okay. Well, it's hard for me to do it. But anyway, here's another one I made. I don't know. Anyway, okay, so all these are calls. They're all a little different. Because what I do, I carve it out. This is butternut, by the way. These are butternut calls I haven't put together yet. These are walnut strikers that I've had to round out. You notice they're all round. And so it takes me, really just to do these calls, taking me 2 days. But then you got to varnish them and you got to do all kinds of work on them. But now, it was interesting about the wood. Speaking of the wood, look at the wood I have over here. This is a collection of wood I've had for years and years and years. The older the wood and the more cured out it is, it's better. Like here's a piece of butternut that I'm making these calls out of. This butternut I got off of Johnny Morris's farm, the Bass Pro Shop president. He has a farm on Table Rock Reservoir, and he didn't miss this butternut tree. He didn't even know it grew there. And so Ronnie Curry and I, we cut this tree down, and I cut all these billets up. I still have quite a few, and I have some more to make. I've made like 200 calls already. This is another kind of wood. That's just pine. But then we have poplar, we have acacia, Okay, this is acacia, and here's walnut. Now Ronnie Curry, the guy I talked about, I hunt Ronnie's farm, and Ronnie was a college roommate of Johnny Morris when they went to college together at Drury University in Springfield. But anyway, on Ronnie's farm, well, I cut this walnut at 2010, so that's 10 years old. So when it's all cured out like this, it has a good sound. It's really nice. And then I have cedar. I got some cedar from Missouri as well, and cedar can make a really good call. And I got the cedar in 2010, and these are calls that now, when they're all like this, I come over to my mill, and what I do, and I'm not going to do it right now, I put it in the mill, and I put the first thing in the mill. I tighten it all up. I'm not going to do it because it's not ready to go. And this routes it all out. And so I carve it down, and what you end up with, and it still isn't finished at this point, but that's what causes this. That's what digs this out. That's what routes that whole inside out. Then I take it on a sander. Let's just go outside, and I'll show you the other step that I do. I've been, like I say, I've had to make turkey calls all week, and I've made like 6 or 7. It takes me a long time to make turkey calls, and I have to hand tune each one of them. I have to keep sanding on them and keep messing with them until you finally get them down to the right size. Okay, here's what I did. In this wood shop, I take my bandsaw and I cut all the little pieces off, and I get it all kind of all situated and cut. Then I come over here on the sander. Well, I might have to take the. That's a planer, and that planer. See that the sides of this thing here are a little curved. You notice that the top is wider than the bottom. So this planer, you put it on the planer, and that's how you get your angle. Now, then you put it on the sander, and you sand it down to about what you want, but it's still not done because, see, there's a curve. The very top of that box is actually curved. So I got to take my little rotary sander, okay, and I do the finish work with this thing, and I turn it on, and a rotary sand, and I get it all smoothed out. And then the last step is putting a urethane finish on it. So I've put about 3 coats of urethane on there, and now it's kind of ready to assemble. Well, anyway, that's my process of making turkey call. Okay, let's go to my boat for a second, and I'll talk more about. Oh, here's another turkey call. Here's one I made. That sounds good. What do you think of that? That's a good one. I've called in dozens of turkeys. My turkey calls sound almost as good as Neil Cost, but not every one of them. I have to go through 4 or 5, and then I'll get a real good one, like this one. That's a good one. Listen to this. That'll call a turkey a long ways. These box calls are the longest distance calls going. Okay, let's go back to my boat. And I'll show you a little bit about what's going on. I was fishing this last weekend with Jerry Brousseau. He's my tournament partner, and we were on Lake Okeechobee. And I did a YouTube What's Happening Roland thing on Friday, and we were practicing, mainly catching small bass. Well, we started off, and we caught a few small bass that first day. But then we started flipping. Okay, here's what we did. We went to this big flipping deal, and on this big old flipping weight right here, 65-pound braid, we flipped up a couple 5 and 6 pounders. But they were in the gator grass. Gator grass is real thick and nasty, and we lost the biggest one, which is 6 pounds. And then Jerry lost a big one, and then so finally, the first day, hey, we should have had over 20 pounds of bass. Should have been way up to the top 5, but instead we're sucked. We just didn't do good at all. So we got out the second day, and I didn't know what to do. I'm just all disappointed. Started off with a little devil's horse like this, and I caught a limit on my reconditioned devil's horse. Then we went back to flipping. we went back to this flipping deal, and bam, 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 a couple 5-pounders. And then we used this Cinco, and we used that 1/2 ounce weight, and we went to the reeds. This is, again, heavy braid, bam, 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 a couple of nice 3 and 4 pounders. So we had a pretty good stringer the second day. But when you have a terrible stringer the first day and a pretty good stringer the second day, you just don't make the money. So it's just a bad deal. But we learned, and we had the opportunities. It was really a good tournament, even though we lost fish. Anytime you get the strikes, you're doing a few things right. It's just that the gator grass messed us up, but we didn't catch them. But anyway, that's what's happening in my world. We're doing a lot of fishing. In a couple weeks, I'll be all recuperated. I'll be fishing again, and maybe in the meantime, I'll be making another turkey call or two. So listen, hey, thanks for watching my YouTube, and thanks for subscribing, and hit that likes button, and we'll see you again soon.